A very good afternoon to you and welcome to the African News on Voice of the People television. I am Promise Enyi. Before we begin the news, kindly visit our website on www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news daily. And now, the news in details. Foreign ministers from the Alliance of Sahel states have met to discuss formalities associated with their exit from the regional bloc ECOWAS. Niger, Basso, and Mali are due to withdraw officially from the grouping of West African states on Tuesday, January 28th. At the gathering in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, they agreed to favor a global approach to negotiations and relations with ECOWAS within the framework of the alliance. The three countries announced their plans to leave the bloc a few months after formalizing their own grouping, known by its French acronym AES. Ministers said discussions must take into account the existence of the alliance as a united actor to be able to hold talks with ECOWAS in a spirit of peaceful coexistence. Elsewhere, Sierra Leone's Information Ministry said on Sunday it was investigating a media report that European cocaine kingpin Jocelyn Jacques is in the country and benefiting from high-level protection there. Two sources told Newsmen on Friday that Jacques, who was sentenced last June in absentia to 24 years in prison by a Dutch court for smuggling more than 7 tons of cocaine, has been in Sierra Leone since at least early 2023. Now, a spokesperson for the Dutch prosecutor's office told Newsmen that he has been living in Sierra Leone for at least 6 months. Jacques is on Europol's list of most wanted fugitives. In a statement, the Sierra Leone ministry said the country's police were ready to collaborate with the Dutch government, Interpol, and other international law enforcement agencies about the case. And now moving to Congo, Congolese rebels said on Sunday that they had taken Goma, the biggest city in the east of the mineral-rich country, after a lightning advance that has forced thousands of people to flee and fuel concerns of a regional war. It is unclear whether the city was fully under rebel control. A spokesperson for the Kinshasa government and the army have yet to make an official statement on the matter. But earlier this week, the Rwandan-backed M23 rebels launched an assault on Goma, the capital of North Kivu province, after it gained grounds this month in Democratic Republic of Congo's conflict-riven eastern boundaries. Reports say that Sunday evening, M23 fighters has pushed past Mungini, an outlying neighborhood around 9 kilometers from the city center. Meanwhile, the United Nations Security Council has demanded that M23 rebel forces stop an ongoing offensive and advance towards Goma, the largest city in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, and the external forces in the regional immediately withdraw. Now the council demands that just hours after Rwandan-backed M23 said they had taken Goma following a lightning advance that has forced thousands of people to flee and fueled concerns of a regional war. The M15-member UN Security Council met earlier on Sunday to discuss the crisis and then quickly agreed on a lengthy statement. The council urged Rwanda and the DRC to return to talk to achieve peace and address issues related to the presence of Rwandan defense forces in the eastern Congo and Congolese support for the democratic forces for the liberation of Rwanda. In the meantime, France expresses its solidarity regarding the Democratic Republic of Congo and condemns actions by Rwandan in the country. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot said this on Monday. The foreign minister said France strongly condemned the offensive led by the M23 rebel backed by the Rwandan armed forces, which has led to the death of 6 peacekeepers and the displacement of several of thousands of people, stressing that fighting must stop and dialogue must resume. Barrot made these statements and remarks as he arrived at the Council of European Foreign Ministers in Brussels. Congolese rebels said on Sunday they had taken Goma, the biggest city in the east of the mineral-rich country, after a lightning advance that had forced thousands of people to flee and fueled concerns of a regional war in Congo. Meanwhile, Kenyan President William Ruto, who chairs the East African Community, has announced that the bloc will convene an extraordinary summit within 48 hours to tackle the growing conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Ruto confirmed that he held discussions earlier in the day with DRC President Felix Tshisekedi and Rwandan President Paul Kagame, both of whom have agreed to attend the summit. And now, in a statement from the presidency in Kenya, Ruto expressed concern over the deteriorating situations in the region marked by ongoing hostilities and a worsening humanitarian crisis. He said the conflict in Congo has been heightened military actions and the closure of the city of Goma's airspace, worsening conditions for affected populations. In another development, Turkey has condemned the recent attack on the Saudi hospital in Al-Fashar, Sudan, which resulted in multiple casualties. The Turkish Foreign Ministry, in a statement, extended condolences to the families of the victims and the Sudanese people, while wishing a swift recovery of these injured people. Emphasizing the importance of international law, the ministry stressed that civilian infrastructure must never be targeted. Turkey also reaffirmed its commitment to supporting efforts aimed at establishing peace and stability in Sudan. More than 70 people were killed in a drone strike by the Rapid Support Forces paramilitary group on the Saudi hospital in El Fasher, the capital city of North Darfur State. Still in Sudan, Sudanese Army General Abdul Fattah al-Burhan has visited its strategic headquarters in central Khartoum in his first appearance there since government forces claim to have broken a months-long siege by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Accompanied by senior military leaders, Burhan praised the resilience and sacrifices of soldiers who defended the army's general command for 20 months, vowing to eradicate the RSF and pursue its fighters in every corner of Sudan. He also hailed the army's continued operations elsewhere in the country, including Umdurman, Bahiri, and El Fasher, where fierce clashes have been reported in the siege since the conflict erupted in April 2023. The army announced and restored control over parts of the city, signaling a potential turning point in the nearby nearly 2-year war. All right, joining us to analyze this and more and put in better perspective to these stories today is Barrister Darlington Agbomo. Good afternoon, sir. Good to have you on the African News today.
Promise child, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for being here. So let's start off with what's happening. The crisis in DRC Congo, Barrister, it's looking like it's never going to end.
I'm telling you.
So there is a lot of back and forth, with that story. So putting a little, more perspective to it. There are some, articles and on the dailies in around African continent and the stories around. It's saying that people are pointing fingers on Rwandan President Paul Kagame over and over again, even though he has come to deny it. Also, UN, the United Nations, has cautioned him, signaling the fact that he is kind of responsible for what is going on in the Republic of Congo. And in his defense, he's saying that this issue started in 1994 during the Rwandan genocide, the Tutsi, when more than 1 million of the Tutsis were killed in Rwanda. So he's saying that part of the M23 rebel, or people who made up the M23 rebel today, are some of the members and people who were among the people that killed a lot of Tutsis, millions of Tutsis in Rwanda. So it's looking like a retaliation from his point. This is what people are saying, and that's where the things.
The mineral resources there is the problem.
He's not a Congolese.
No, he's not, but he's making a killing out of the problem there. Because, you know, the boundary between Rwanda and Congo is very close. So, the Western countries are using Rwanda as a conduit pipe for what they are bringing out from DR Congo. That is the main issue. Why do you think that UK have chosen Rwanda to transfer some of their asylum seekers? Why do you think so? The Western world can never be your friend except they are getting something from you. They can't. So that is the main issue. Rwanda have allowed themselves to be used to destroy DR Congo. And Paul Kagame cannot deny that. He knows what is going on. He's the one arming and supporting the M23
rebels.
Good. He's the one. Their base is in Rwanda.
So even to the point where the president of DRC Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, has called him a Hitler, the Hitler of Africa.
Good.
Barrister, that is very heavy.
Good.
It's a heavy word.
That will tell you that all the facts are well known. It's just that this man, maybe people are praising him for the wrong reason.
Kagame?
Yes. The genocide he committed in Rwanda, it's still in his blood. I'm telling you.
Was he part of the genocide, Barrister?
Who was the ringleader?
In what way? Enlighten us.
He was part of those people that we are killing. He was part of them. Paul Kagame, he was in the thick of the issue here. If you look at all the stories that we are told, his name came up.
So how then did he become the president of Rwanda after the genocide?
Because that was the only way they can be, you know, they became the victorious part.
Okay.
His own side became the victorious part.
So, he said Tutsis.
Good. So that they can have peace in Rwanda. That was what happened. And he has been there for how many times now? Is that not dictatorship?
Yes, he has been there for a couple of times.
So
I think the third.
That will tell you that the man, you people think that. But one thing I will assure him that whatever the shenanigans he's playing, it will soon collapse. Rwanda may go back to their 1994 years if care is not taken. Because those rebels he's supporting, they will turn around against him one day. Go and mark my word. Because I know how these people behave and how they operate. If you use them and want to drop them, they will not agree with you.
The rebels, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Remember Boko Haram in Nigeria. So he should learn a lesson. Very soon, the Western world will hands off him.
So Barrister, now that you mentioned the Western world, there is something that got my attention in this crisis in DRC Congo. People are running away. Today, Goma, the M23 rebels are approaching Goma. We're seeing footages of people running away, children, mothers, you understand, senior citizens leaving the city, running away. But something caught my attention. With the whole issues, there are foreign forces, military forces, protecting the mineral resources in DRC Congo.
Of course.
So it looks like the very important thing, or the only thing important to the Western world, is the mineral resources in Congo.
We have said it severally. That's the issue here.
But on one breath, when it's kicking against what Kagame is doing, but on another breath, who are the people that made up the UN or that makes up the United Nations?
They will make statements just to look good before the public. But in reality, they are the real cause of the problem in DR Congo, this Western world. All these rebel groups who are arming them, the same Western world. The same Western world. So, except the UN come out to tell itself the truth, this thing will not end. That's the truth. And who are the people that are, supporting the UN and all that? Is it not the Western world? So they will make statements that will make them.
Even though France has come to condemn what the M23 rebels is doing.
If there is the worst culprit, is France. Condemn what? France condemn what? Was it not them that propped up Mobutu Sese Seko? After destroying the Congo, he now died miserably in exile. So all of them are involved. It's just that, unfortunately, we don't have a strong leadership in DR Congo. You don't have a strong leadership.
So what happens to other African leaders helping and backing Congo? Because so far, it looks like it's only South Africa that has been able to send their military to support DRC Congo. What are other African countries doing to support their brothers and sisters in this crisis?
The AU is so weak that that organization ought to be disbanded. They are so impotent. They can't even do a thing. All because of what? Because
it looks like Africa keeps, looking forward to Western countries to help them. Can we not help ourselves?
Everything we need, we look up to them. And that is why they are now using these African leaders. They cannot, because Western interest is involved. That is the truth here. Western interest is involved, especially those African countries that are owing the Western world. Like Nigeria. Can Nigeria boldly say they want to go and fight in DR Congo? That means they are going to fight these Western powers whose soldiers are there. Is that what you want?
Because of the debts we're owing?
What are you saying?
So, Barrister, you're saying a debtor shouldn't have the responsibility to say anything?
No say. Who goes are borrowing, goes are sorrowing. A debtor have no say.
But America is also one of the highest debtors in the world.
Well,
and they are the assumed, supposedly, world leaders.
Really?
Yes.
America have told you that they are not owing any debt because they cannot pay debt with their own currency. Is it not American dollar? Yes, they have told you.
And who made it so?
Well, it's the world. If you have the power, now face them. The worst you can do when they want to borrow money from you, say you will not give them. But don't forget, the money in IMF and World Bank, it belongs to America. Have you forgotten? It's their money. So what are you talking about? They say they cannot pay debt with their own money. It's American currency that is ruling the world. So what are you saying? That's why when people are saying there's nothing wrong with borrowing Nigeria, just laugh. If America borrow, you follow them to borrow, Abi? Are you in the same category?
So Barrister, still going back to the issues in DRC Congo, there's something else again that caught my attention. Do you know that in all of this crisis, it's almost 30 years that this thing has been happening, going on in Congo? Almost 3 decades or more than 3 decades now. The Western media has a way of not trying to push these stories forward. If not for social media, a lot of Africans do not know what is happening in Africa. Let's see, for instance, the New York Times so far, for the past 3 decades rather, has reported stories about Congo just about 50 times. There is no major article about them. But you talk about the Russian-Ukraine war, we have more than 300 and something thousand articles about the Russian-Ukraine war. So it looks like they don't really care about Africa, or they are deliberately undermining Africa.
Of course, that's what I'm telling you. Thank God you brought these issues up. That will tell you the position of Africa.
So it looks like Africa does not matter.
It doesn't. In
the scheme of things, we do not matter.
You are just there for your mineral resources, nothing else. You are just, in fact, if they have a way of transferring this into their own country and allow Africans to die off, they will do it. That is the only thing that they are interested in Africa.
And sadly, we are independent states. And we have leaders.
You are not. The neo-colonialism now is even worse than the re-colonialism. The neo-colonialism that's going on now is worse than the re-colonialism. Because we are even more enslaved now than before.
So, Barrister, the question is, can you help us? How do we move away from this? How will Africa move away from this and be clearly independent by themselves?
It is only when a generation of Africans, most of them are there in Western world, maybe one day God will push all of them back here to come and start another wind of change. Yes, that is the only savior that Africa should be looking up to. When we have our young men and women out there, when they will come back here and say, look, I must be free indeed. Those people are the ones who will champion it. But for these other ones that are here already, the mentality they have is still that of a colonial mentality. It is this our kings and king who have interacted, worked, and lived in the Western world that can come back and say, no, this is not how things are done. If we want to move forward, we must change things. So they are the people we are looking up to.
Because it looks like, from the look of things, the rest of the world have moved on.
Yes.
A lot of countries that were not doing better,
They have moved
a lot
on.
of countries that were doing poorer than Africa, like Argentina, are moving ahead of us. They are moving forward.
Because
they have better leaders
Exactly.
who care about the people, who care about cutting costs in clear terms, not just cutting costs by just mentioning it or by mercy. You're seeing them put it
Even
into practice.
Asia countries, they have moved on. They have left Africa behind. Africa is like now a battleground for mineral resources. All of
From
them
the
are
Western
here.
countries.
Of course, China, US, UK, all of them, Canada.
So the other day it was in the news that Mali sued a Canadian mining firm for 200. They've been owing them to the amount of $250 million. For years you've been mining these resources and you're not paying for it.
Exactly.
And such a thing cannot happen in their country.
Exactly.
But they make it somehow look like Africans are the worst of the worst. If you hear news about Africa, stories about Africans in the Western world, like say in the US, they will mention your country, tag your name and your country to it. But when you do something better, then they remember you're a citizen of their country.
Exactly, exactly. That is the propaganda.
I just wish our leaders would be able to wake up.
That is media propaganda against you. It is weighed heavily against you because you have no say. They see Africa and African leaders as stupid people. But when they see your leader bringing your money to their country, they'll be laughing at you.
To invest in their,
to
enrich their economy the more.
Abacha, we are still getting a lot from him up to tomorrow.
True.
If he was alive, that money would have been there. Are you telling me these other ones that are alive, they didn't save any money there? So that is one of the reasons why they don't take you serious. They just see African and African leaders as stupid people. I'm telling you.
And it seems we are proving them right by the day.
Course,
Sadly, I had to say that.
That's why most of these African leaders don't want to talk, because if they make too much, they may be exposed. They know. That's why they
and it all boils down to greed. It all boils down to greed.
Even the money they will not need in the next 30 generation.
You're acquiring.
Most of the money we go to borrow are money that we save there. Our own money that our leaders went to go and stockpile there. So when we need money, they will borrow and they will not pay interest on the money again. And you are telling me that a country that behaves in this manner, they are part of the human race. They will never take us serious, so they won't.
Right,
so when you want to start making, they will just be looking at you and be laughing that, look, you are living on our borrowed money. We are living on aid. We give you money. But our
we'll borrow your money to you.
So
in clear terms.
We are sustaining you.
Technically. So moving on, still talking about Africa now and being independent of themselves. Foreign ministers from the Alliance of Sahel states have met to discuss formalities associated with their exit from the regional bloc, ECOWAS. Barrister, you know that story is not new. Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. They are due to withdraw officially, although, from the grouping of ECOWAS on Tuesday, this January the 28th.
Unfortunately, this thing is happening on this watch. A very embarrassing record.
So Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, they are going to form their own passport.
Of course, they said it.
And form a state of their own.
Of course. They said that African leaders are in bed with their enemies, that they saw how France was oppressing them and nobody said anything. A very good reason. A very good reason. Tinubu could not even utter a word as ECOWAS leader to protect and, defend these people.
His people, you say?
So, yes, because these are people under him as ECOWAS leader. You did not.
Where you are the head.
You are the head. You didn't challenge France for one day.
So you're saying he's passive? Is he a passive leader?
He's
not. What you're saying?
He's not passive. He's part of the problem.
How?
Yes,
now. Barrister?
By the time you are now in bed with the enemy of your people, are you not part of the problem?
Barrister, enlighten us a little bit. How is he in bed with the enemies of his people?
Oh, really? You hear that a foreign power is in your bloc. Making the resources of your people. They have provided evidence and everything. And you, who's supposed to be the leader of ECOWAS, you did not one day challenge them or make a statement. Why should I remain under you? Eh?
So
rather, you are bringing them, you are still bringing them, you are still doing business with them.
These countries needed support from their fellow African countries.
I said
obviously.
Tinubu is still doing business with Emmanuel Macron. The very person that could not treat his own...
But Barrister, he only signed a memorandum for mining.
What is that?
You know, every day he travels, almost all the time the president travels, he says he goes to woo investors. Probably they have seen a way to woo French investors that say to Nigeria.
They cannot be the only investor in the whole world. They cannot. This particular person...
Even though France is not one of the countries that are experts in mining.
Exactly.
If you're talking about mining, you're talking of Australia.
Exactly.
Not France.
Exactly. So why are you in bed with them, doing business with them? The person that have treated your own people very badly, and you are now doing business with him. What does that tell you? That's why these people took a walk and said, no, we can't be under you. Besides, apart from Tinubu's record anyway. So these are the issues. All of them, they are all trying to please the Western world. If Tinubu is now an agent of CIA, according to report, then what else is left?
There might be just some. That might be just some assumptions, Barry. So we're not sure of that.
Also what?
Assumptions. But let's stay on Burkina Faso and Mali now. Barry, so you remember a couple of days ago, when Burkina Faso head of state Traoré asked the French military troops to leave his country. Macron was there was a statement, a video footage of Macron.
They should be grateful. They should thank France.
He said that African countries should be grateful for France for gaining independence.
Can you imagine?
But somehow Traoré replied him. Do you know what Traoré said to him? He told him that if not for African leaders, your economy will not be stable.
Exactly.
You are stealing from Africa to stabilize your economy.
Exactly.
He even had to go far back as World War II. He told him, I remember during World War II, see when these African countries were under French colony, they fought World War II for France. Africa helped France to gain independence out of Germany. If not, they would have still been under the plague of Hitler in the World War II. So who was doing who favor, or who is doing who favor?
I thank God some of them are now beginning to assert themselves. Before now, in fact, this is like an abomination for you, for any Francophone country to reply France.
Also, Senegalese president did reply him too. Yeah, Faye did reply him. He said the same thing that Traoré said to him.
So that means
France should be the people who are grateful, who should be thanking. And Barrister, do you know, there are a lot of stories that people do not know. There are a lot of things that happened that people do not know. And I think it's our responsibility to enlighten people more on the way Africa was, will I say, used or exploited. Barrister, do you know that there used to be an anniversary, or there is always an anniversary in Senegal, where they honor the people who was massacred after the World War II. Do you know what happened? So there is this, it was said that during the World War II, the French troops came, the French government came to Africa, begged some Africans to help them fight this war. And there was an agreement that when we win this war for you, you're paying us a certain compensation, XYZ's compensation. Alas, at the end of the day, they were independent, the war was won, by the help of African people. But they did not keep to the part of their bargain, Barrister. So when a lot of people, I know a lot of Senegalese, Malians, Burkina Faso people were involved in that issue. And they came and they asked these people, keep to the bag of your bargain. We've done our part. How about you keep to the part of your bargain? Do you know what happened? They indirectly gathered them, told them, oh, come, let's have an issue. Let's have this discussion with you. Barrister, it was still the colonial era. They all gathered them at a place and massacred them. There were thousands of Africans who were massacred. And the media buried the stories. It's not reported all over the media. But somehow the Senegalese president has held France accountable for what happened. And he has asked them that they need a compensation for what happened then. Do you know what Macron did? He wrote an apology letter. He apologized, but they underplayed and downplayed the number of people that died, from thousands to just 73 people. Barrister, this is what the Western media does. They tell you what they want you to hear. And I think we as Africans should be making efforts to go beyond what the Western media is telling us
We
and
know,
learn by ourselves.
we know our story, just that nobody is telling it. We know our story. These people know that they did wrong in Africa. At least, this their author. What's that his name now? How Europe underdeveloped Africa. You know they killed that man for revealing all those things in that book. They killed him. They killed the man. So that will tell you that these history books are there, but they don't want us to read it.
But are Africans, I would say, utilizing the history properly? Like in Nigeria, Barrister, we do not have history. I've heard that this current administration is trying to, bring back history in our curriculum. I hope that works, because even the former administration did it during President Goodluck Jonathan's administration. He tried it, but it did not work. I don't know why. I don't know why it didn't work. I hope history is being brought back, and I hope people will be able to know by themselves, their story, and tell their story by themselves in the African lens and not in the lens of the Western world. That is what matters.
Where they doctor it.
Yes.
Doctor it. It's unfortunate. We don't have leaders in Africa. The real African leaders, they have eliminated all of them, from Kwame Nkrumah to, people like Moritala, even though as a military head of state.
To Patrice Lumumba.
Patrice Lumumba, to Ameka Chapral, to all of them. Mandela died, of course, There are many African leaders, people who want Africa to actually stand up for themselves. But the Western world, through their collaborators, they made sure they eliminated all of them.
But Barrister, now that you mentioned some of these matters that will have people like Patrice Lumumba, these people were also betrayed by their people through the Western countries.
Mobutu Sese Seko dragged him all around the streets of Kinshasa until he died.
How do we keep betraying our own? Just for selfish gain, for selfish interest, for what you would gain.
The same France, we backed him in that coup, backed Mobutu Sese Seko. He killed all the leaders, dragged them along the streets of Kinshasa, until they died. He now took over and started eliminating every other person. The man said, before me, there is no DR Congo. After me, there will be no DR Congo. No, before me, there is no Kinshasa. After me, there will be no Kinshasa or something like that.
Still in DR Congo.
And that was what happened. The man who took that place by storm and make sure that he wasted everything. Today, where is he? He died miserably in exile. The same Mobutu Sese Seko. He died in exile after wasting the resources of his country. Go and see what he built in France, in Switzerland. Go and see all the edifices. Enriching
their economy.
With all the money. And the DR Congo will never recover those money. They will never. That is what is going on. They will never recover those money. That is Africa for you. Very useless set of human beings that God dropped here. We can't even point one African country. The only reason why South Africa is still breeding and all that, is it not because of the whites there? The economy of that country is in the hands of the white. If it is blacks, forget it. When the Jacob Zuma was...
So what is wrong with a black man? What is the problem that a black man has?
Like a coarse
I think we need to identify the problem we have.
It's a coarse continent. When this Conrad was writing about the dark continent, you think he was abusing us? No. That is what we are. Even in a civilized 21st century, Africa is still in darkness.
Or is it what they want us to be and we are helping them? Our activities are helping them tag ourselves what they want us to be.
Of course. So it's really unfortunate, serious. I've been saying it. Our deliverers may be coming from the Western world. Our children who have sojourned in that country, except they come back and introduce good governance, we are not going anywhere. I'm telling you. God will push them back to Africa one day, and all of them will start collaborative effort to save Africa from itself. That's the only way. If not, forget it. This thing may last another 3 or 4 centuries. Eh?
People are displaced. So far, more than millions of people have been displaced in DRC.
In their
Congo.
own, in their
and that
own
has
country.
been the highest, aside Syria issues and aside Syria crisis and Sudan crisis.
Sudan is still there.
Congo is the third internally displaced people in the whole world. People are being displaced by the day.
Some of them have even been taken to some museums in the Western world, like Belgium, because of the way these children are stunted growth, looking like animals and all that.
And they keep them for exhibition.
Exhibition. African children. My dear.
That was what happened during the colonial era too,
very, very
where a lot of African babies are kept as an exhibition close to or in picture of a monkey, I would say.
I'm telling you. People go there to view them and take pictures. And they'll just be looking like moron. They couldn't even talk. When you are
Barris, I don't know if you remember how Sarah Batman of South Africa was dehumanized.
Oh.
And she was kept in the museum. She was a human being who has a very large backside. So because of the size of her backside, they kept her in a zoo to be watched and be exhibited. And people defied her by every means, every terrible means possible until she contracted illnesses that they didn't even try to take care of her. She was killed. These things are in history. So the reason why I'm enlightening people is because a lot of Africans feel that the Western countries are the good guys to you.
I'm telling you.
Because they come and give you aids, they come and give you grants and give you loans, and you think they are doing you a favor. But they are stealing from you. I would say it that way. And they are enriching you with your resources.
It is on record that the mineral resources these people are taking away from DR Congo since 1927 is over $270 trillion. $270 trillion.
And no one is held accountable for this.
Imagine that kind of money. They will not allow you to have it. They will not. Unfortunately, it is Africans that are helping them, aiding and abetting them.
So, Barrister, in essence, what you're saying that Western leaders are corrupt when it comes to Africa.
They are the devil themselves. That's why these people call them the great Shaitan. All this, Islamic world that don't want to agree with them. They see them as the great Shaitan because of what they have been doing all over the world. But, I mean, we see them as God, because they will come and pose as good guys. They make statements. You think that they meant what they are saying. Look at how they brought problem upon us here, because they have seen a leader who is fighting for validation. Told him to remove this subsidy, remove this subsidy, remove this subsidy, and he agreed with them.
You're talking about the president now?
Yes, now our own president here. Is it not IMF and World Bank that
encourage him to remove fuel subsidy?
Now look at the problem. They are now laughing at us.
But other commodities and some aspects and sectors are being subsidized in the Western country.
Cannot continue. We've been left you and your minerals, or maybe cannot continue. We've been left you and your minerals, or maybe a new development may have come up that the world may not even need you and your mineral resources. Just like our crude oil now. Everybody is running away from fossil fuel. By the time they will now discover alternative to all these things, they will, in fact, you will drink your oil. These things, they will, in fact, you will drink your oil.
And the time will come that will happen.
It will happen, no, because it's a very terrible situation, seriously. Unfortunately, our leaders are at the forefront of this thing. They don't even feel ashamed. They don't feel ashamed. Some of us even know better than them, yet they claim to be leaders. Leaders that are serving the Western world. When they see these white men, the way they jump up, the way they behave, you would think that a God has come. A God has come. They worship them like God. So why are you going to have respect if your leader is worshiping a foreigner? Then you, the citizen, what are you going to do?
Wow.
It's unfortunate, seriously.
Quite unfortunate.
I don't blame
because
them.
I don't know why we can't go past the neo-colonial mindset, Barrister. I don't know what is wrong with us as people, but we'll keep talking. And I hope someday they'll be able to. It may not be automatic, but gradually.
We'll get there. We'll get a leader.
Someday.
Yeah, maybe
because we don't even have a choice. We have no other choice than to keep trying and keep talking and keep informing people.
One African leader will set the pace like China did. China closed their door to Western influence for over 25 years or more. By the time they opened their door, a new China emerged.
Malaysia also.
The same thing. So a leader will come that will say, look, we are going to do things differently. Maybe with that example, other African states will wake up. I'm telling you.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister Darlington. Sadly, I hate to say, but this is where we'll draw the curtain on African news analysis. Thank you so much for dissecting these stories and putting better perspective to this discussion. Thank you so much. Barrister Darlington is, of course, a legal practitioner and VOP TV in-house analyst. The rest of the news will come to you shortly after this break. Stay tuned. Well, welcome back, and this is still the African News on Voice of the People television. The Inspector General of the Sudan National Police Service, General Ibrahim Manyut, has evening lifted the dusk to dawn curfew. The curfew declared on January the 17th followed a night protest and looting of shops owned by Sudanese in Juba and other major towns that was sacked by the brutal killing of South Sudanese in Sudan's Gezira state following its takeover by the Sudan Armed Forces from the Rapid Support Forces. Manu told the state-owned South Sudan Broadcasting Corporation that the security situation in the whole country was back to normal, hence the lifting of the curfew. Police said 16 people were killed across South Sudan during the riots. Moving on, 37 suspected terrorists, including suspected members of Islamic State, have been arrested across East Africa over the last 2 months, the global police body Interpol said on Monday. Interpol, which is headquartered in France, said the arrests had been made during November and December during an operation conducted jointly with the Pan-African police body, Afripol. The arrest comes as concerns mount over a possible resurgence of the ISIS militant group after the ousting of Bashar al-Assad in Syria. On New Year's Day, 15 people were killed after a U.S. Army veteran flying an ISIS flag from his truck swerved around makeshift barriers and drove into crowds in New Orleans. Interpol said the operation in Africa had resulted in the arrest of 17 people, including 2 suspected ISIS members in Kenya and the arrest of the suspected members of ISIS Mozambique in Tanzania. Others were arrested in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Somalia. Away from that now, 2 women have been arrested for allegedly dealing drugs in South Africa Free State. The Bloemfontein Provincial Anti-Gang Unit apprehended the pair at a property in Ashbury. South Africa Police Service Sergeant Mahumola Karieli said that the Bloemfontein Provincial AGU conducted a search at Ashbury in the Heidedal region after receiving intelligence-led information and conducting investigation into suspected unlawful activities at the residence. During the search of the house, drugs such as mandrax, cocaine, and crystal meth were discovered stashed within a sofa. And now to business. South Africa's rand slipped today ahead of a week packed with domestic and international data releases, with eyes set on interest rate decisions from the Federal Reserve and the South African Reserve banks. The rand was close and last traded about 0.1% stronger against a basket as traders pondered the ramifications of U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs plan. In a related development, Kenya's shillings was unchanged against the dollar today. Data from the London Stock Exchange Group showed this. The shilling traded at 129.40 per dollar, the same as at the $4 million first phase for equivalent units, a yes to 530,000 TEUs when completed in the next 2 years. It is already handling increased volumes as logistics bottlenecks in neighboring South Africa force commodity exports to seek alternative routes. And now talking sports, Galatasaray striker Victor Osimhen has launched a defamation lawsuit against Turkish journalist Tolga Budzuman. This was disclosed in a post shared on X by radio on-air personality Onokala Onyebuchi, better known as Buchi Laba. This is coming after Budzuman accused the Nigerian international of assault following Galatasaray's 3-3 draw with Diamond Kyiv earlier this month. You may recall that Budzuman had claimed that Osimhen became aggressive and pounced him while he was attempting to take photos of the Napoli Leone outside a venue. Reports allege that Osimhen offered money to have footage of the altercation deleted. The Nigerian striker has strongly denied the allegations, labeling them as false. And now still in sports, Kaizer Chiefs has announced the signing of Tashreeq Maurice from SuperSports United. Maurice joins in a swap deal that sees Christian Salih leave Chiefs to join SuperSports United on loan. This move is part of a strategic swap deal which will see striker Christian Salih head the other way. Additionally, Sporting Director Kaizer Mutang expressed his delight at welcoming Maurice to Chiefs. Well, with sports, we've come to the end of African News on Voice of the People Television. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel on Voice of the People TV and on other social media platforms. We are at VOP TV Live. I am Promise. Have a good afternoon and thanks for watching.